Today, inshallah, we're going to be talking about the hadith that talks about plucking eyebrows and how it is prohibited in Islam. I also feel that not many people address it. I do feel like it's a very big issue. Microblading, from the research that I have done, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've read about it and what I have seen after speaking to certain people who do it themselves, is that it is permanent, or it's somewhat permanent, right? And that is completely unacceptable. You cannot make a permanent change to your eyebrows. Societal norms should not conform our beauty standards. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today, inshallah, we're going to be talking about the hadith that talks about plucking eyebrows and how it is prohibited in Islam. And the reason why I'm mentioning this topic today is because I'm getting a lot of questions ever since the makeup video about different beauty treatments and if they're permissible or not. And a lot of the questions were about eyebrows. And I do feel when I go out in the community and I meet with a lot of sisters, I do feel like it's a very big issue. And I also feel that not many people address it because it is a very controversial issue, but it's not helping anyone if we're not addressing it, right? So let's talk about why it's haram, the standing of the hadith that prohibits it, and what is some way to go about it if somebody needs to. So the very first thing is the prohibition comes from the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's narrated by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And he says that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and this is in Bukhari and Muslim, that Allah curses the woman who performs tattoos, basically who does tattoos on others, who gets tattoos, the woman who pluck the eyebrows of others, and those women who get their eyebrows plucked, and those that part their teeth for adornment, who change Allah's creation. It ends with, who change Allah's creation. Now, there are other narrations similar to this one where the words are a bit different, or the chain of narrators is different. This is the one that is from Bukhari and Muslim, and it's the most authentic, so that's why I chose to share this with you today. And this is also the one that's going around the internet and everybody's using it. So yes, the hadith clearly states that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curses those women, right? And he mentions three things here, and the ones that I mentioned was tattoos, the second one is plucking of the eyebrows, and the third one is creating a space between your teeth for adornment. So it's basically that you're changing Allah's creation, changing something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already naturally made for you, and you are doing it because you feel like that's not beautiful and you need to beautify it, right? So right now we're only going to talk about the plucking of the eyebrows. The very first thing to keep in mind is, yes, the plucking of the eyebrows is impermissible if it's not needed. And what that means is some people are generally born with eyebrows that are shaped, right? So there's a certain shape of that eyebrow. Yes, it may not be thin, right? It may be, still a bit thick, but there's no hair that's growing longer, no hair that's sticking out of it all over the forehead or under the eyebrow, right? So that's a natural eyebrow that already looks clean, and plucking it more and making it thinner and giving it a shape that will look unnatural to the individual, that would be considered haram. However, there are people whose eyebrows are thick. And they're not just thick, they have hair sticking out, up to their forehead or all the way to the side of their, eyebrows. And before anyone, goes off in the comments, the sisters who have such kind of eyebrows, they know who they are. And, I personally can relate to them myself, because I do know that, because depending on where you're from sometimes, and depending on also what type of hormones we have, right? Everybody has a different level of facial hair on their face, and also in their eyebrow area. So if they are removing the extra hair that's sticking out, or the hair that's uneven, or the hair that kind of makes the natural eyebrow look unnatural, and they're removing that hair to make it look natural, that would be permissible. So I'm hoping I'm making sense at this point, and I'm not confusing anyone. So eyebrow that's already thin, it's already in shape, there's no hair sticking out, right? You just leave it as is. But if somebody has eyebrows that are thick, sometimes people even say like, oh, your eyebrows are manly. then they are allowed to remove the extra hair that sticks out, or if a hair that's longer than the other pieces of hair. If somebody has a unibrow, there's nothing wrong with removing the hair between the two eyebrows. And even any hair that's sticking out, that's extra, that's making it bushy, that's making the eyebrow look uneven, and you need to just trim it and you need to just take it out to make your eyebrow look natural, that would be perfectly fine. So that's the first way to go about it. The second question that I got about eyebrows is microblading. Now, microblading, from the research that I have done, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've read about it and what I have seen after speaking to certain people who do it themselves, is that it is permanent, or it's somewhat permanent, right? And that is completely unacceptable. You cannot make a permanent change to your eyebrows. The third one is tinting. So tinting is when, you know, people dye their eyebrows a certain color, and sometimes it's dyed in a way where, you know, people can't see the hair that you dyed, or it's tinted. That is perfectly fine as long as that dye does not prevent you from making wudu. So it doesn't create a layer on top of the eyebrows that you already have. So these are some different ways to go about, or the different processes a lot of women use with their eyebrows. Now, before I conclude the video, I do want to say something, and that is embracing natural beauty. A lot of times I've seen, especially young girls, their eyebrows are perfectly fine. They don't even have extra hair sticking out. They don't have, you know, any type of hair around it. It's just their eyebrows perfectly fine, but it doesn't look like so-and-so's. You know, that's not the trend these days. The social media trend is different. I have to look like a certain way in order for me to be called beautiful. And this is a discussion we need to have amongst ourselves as older women and with our younger girls, because societal norms should not conform our beauty standards. And it takes away self-confidence. It takes away self-esteem, because with every decade, with every generation, something is going to change. You're going to have one generation that's going to say, oh, well, thick eyebrows are good, right? Then you have people like filling in their eyebrows. Then you have another standard that comes along where, no, they should be so thin. They should be like a pencil line. And you have people removing them and waxing them and shaving them, right? So conforming to societal pressure is never healthy for anyone. And I'm saying this because this is a narrative that we need to discuss in our Muslim communities. The issue is anytime something beauty related comes up, we always talk about this is haram, that's haram, right? Like, we'll list it to the girls, you know, don't pluck your eyebrows, don't do this, don't do that. Why not actually have a conversation with them? Like, what's the need of wanting to pluck your eyebrows? Why do you feel like your eyebrows are not good enough? Why do you feel like you have to look like a certain way? Who are you idolizing as your beauty standard, right? It's very important to discuss the root of these issues, because when we don't discuss the root of these issues and we don't have conversations that are actually going to, you know, have the girls and have the women reflect on why they're doing certain things, we cannot get our point across. You can go around saying that plucking eyebrows, right? If you pluck eyebrows, you're cursed, and just throw a blanket statement and don't say anything else. In return, all you're getting is a bunch of women who are still going to do the same thing, right? And they're going to develop a dislike for Hadith and for Quran. So it's very important to talk about the factor behind it, the illat behind it, the purpose behind it. And also, not just that, to the young girls especially. And why am I mentioning young girls again and again is because I work a lot, and daily I work with middle school and high school girls. And I see that the more they are on social media, the more they, you know, are pressured by the society, the more they don't feel confident in themselves, because they feel like they have to look a certain type of way. And for that, they don't want anything Islamic to stand between them and how they have to look. But the discussion should be like, why do you even have to look a certain type of way? You're beautiful because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Khaliq. He's the creator. Al-Musawwir, he's the fashioner. He made you a certain way. And you need to accept that beauty, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made everybody beautiful. Just because it doesn't fit the standard of some industry doesn't mean that you're not beautiful. So I just wanted to end with that. And I hope that, you know, we can get that message across, inshallah. I do hope that today's video was helpful and you're able to get all of your answers. If you guys have any further questions, please do let me know in the comment section below. Inshallah, our next video will be about the types of jewelry women can wear outside. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.